Hey guys, welcome back for part 3 of the 2007 KX250 rebuild project. In this video, we're going to clean a bunch of the main parts in that parts washer behind me. We're going to grease the swing arm bearings as well as rebuild the Kickstarter assembly, so stay tuned. Alright guys, finally got this swing arm ready to go into the parts washer, but these chain adjuster bolts that you saw me take out super easily out of the swing arm, those can become stuck a ton of times. So it's always great to make sure when we put it back on, we're going to put some anti-seize on these bolts. And I got super lucky that they weren't actually stuck inside the swing arm, because then it'd be a lot more work to get them out. Alright guys, so to clean the parts, what I got here is a Harbor Freight parts cleaner. This thing normally goes for $99.99 at Harbor Freight, but normally they do like 20% off coupons all the time, so I got this thing for 80 bucks. Super cheap to clean some parts. So what you guys just saw is actually me filling it up with hot water from the tub. I took a 5-gallon Home Depot pail, filled it up about 2.5 times, so there's about 12 gallons of water in there. And what also I got going on here too is this neat little like parts cleaner brush. So with this parts cleaner, it actually has a siphon. You turn it on and it'll siphon the water up through the hose, and it'll spit out some water through the end cap here, and you can actually scrub and clean the parts super easy. Now to actually clean the parts, I got this Zep Degreaser from Home Depot. So it recommends for light cleaning, you dilute 5 ounces of the cleaner to 1 gallon of water. Or if you want to do heavy cleaning, it's 20 ounces per 1 gallon of water. So I'm going to kind of strike it in between and do like a mid. So I'm going to do 10 ounces per gallon of water that I put in here. So there's about 12 gallons of water, which is pretty much almost 1 full gallon of this as 128 ounces. So I'm pretty much just going to dump the whole gallon of cleaner in there and I'll be good to go. Alright, so what's also cool is I got this infrared thermometer that I'm going to use to test the temperature of the water. I mean, this came right out of the bathtub, so it's a lot easier to clean parts with hot water. So if I just hold the infrared thermometer on the water for a little bit, you can see that this water has a temperature of 112, 113, so that's pretty prime for cleaning. So now you can set these parts cleaners up to have a heater built on and actually heat the water. But for now, the hot water out of the tub is fine. I'm going to throw some parts in there and get to cleaning while the water's hot. After you clean your parts in the parts washer, what I would do is I would take some compressed air to it and blow out all the nooks and crannies to get everything super dry once you get it all cleaned up and washed. guys, so pro tip when you're cleaning your tank in the parts washer, make sure the gas is always off because you don't want the water flowing back into the tank. And then make sure your gas cap's on super tight so you don't get any water or debris inside the tank. So what I like to do for the electrical parts, the CDI and the wiring harness and stuff, is actually not put them in the parts washer and spray them with some maximum contact cleaner, because I don't really trust the water all in the electronics. So this stuff is made for electrical components, so you should be good to go. Give them a good spray down, nice rub and brush, and we should be good. All right guys, as you can see, the parts washer right there did a super good job at cleaning up all the parts and getting the dirt and grime off of them. What I did notice, however, on the shock was that the ZEP degreaser that I used actually was a little bit too strong and abrasive on the paint coating of the shock body. You can see that it definitely discolored it. So I would suggest, one, either not soaking it as long, two, not using such a strong solution. Maybe, dilute the solution a little bit more. Or three, maybe try going with a simple green, which isn't as abrasive, or maybe just using some Dawn dish soap or something like that, which is super basic and not as acidic as the degreaser was. Now, what's also super important about after cleaning these parts is going through and re-greasing and inspecting any of the parts that have bearings in them. So as you can see, we got the swing arm bearings, and then also there is a bearing in that Kickstarter. So what I'm gonna do now is grab the swing arm, Kickstarter, and then dive in to cleaning and re-greasing those bearings. So what we need for this project is actually some wheel bearing and chassis grease. I got this from Napa, a flathead screwdriver, and then either a small pick or a little tiny flathead screwdriver. So let's use that flathead screwdriver to pop out this outside collar. So basically what we're looking to do here is wear some gloves, take your finger and grab a nice healthy amount of grease and just slather it all on the inside of the bearing and coat it very well. Don't be afraid. Kind of twist your hand in there and make sure you get that grease covering every portion of that bearing. Once you got that bearing grease, come back over to the sleeve on the inside and the outside collar, take some contact cleaner, clean those up, and we'll put them back in the bike. Also, before putting the sleeve back through the swing arm, we'll take another dab of grease and we'll just grease it up lightly. Take that sleeve and just slide it right back in from the inside out. That is nicely lubed there. You can also remove any excess grease as well and kind of wipe it down. We'll install the cap on the other side and we should be good to go. And you'll repeat those steps for the other side of the swing arm bearing. All right guys, for this Kickstarter disassembly and re-grease, we're obviously gonna need the Kickstarter, a Phillips head screwdriver, a number 4 Allen, a little tiny flathead screwdriver, 2 Loctite, and of course, the grease. First things first, we'll take out this Phillips head bolt. Unscrew that bad boy. Next up, you'll take a number 4 Allen and strip this bolt out here. Alright, so we're actually not done yet. So inside, where that Allen bolt was protecting, there's actually a small spring and a little ball bearing. So we'll use that small screwdriver to kind of just pop it out. So if you can see inside the Kickstarter assembly, it does look pretty dry in there. So we'll make sure we get some contact cleaner in there, clean it all out. We'll want to clean up the spring and that ball bearing and then grease everything up and put it back together. Alright, so to get inside this Kickstarter assembly, I'm basically just going to take a screwdriver with a rag and go to town. Alright, so now that everything is cleaned up, what we're going to do first is take the little spring and the roller ball bearing here, grease it up, and throw it back in to the Kickstarter. Now the ball bearing is going to go first. Just make sure it doesn't slide all the way down in there. And then next, we're going to put the spring in. Next up is a little rubber seal that goes into the Kickstarter. So we'll actually apply a little bit of grease to that. And then we'll insert that back into the Kickstarter. And what you can actually do here is actually take a dab of grease with your finger and throw some grease into the inside of the Kickstarter here. After that, kind of set the Kickstarter down, and then we'll take the bottom assembly and grease that up. Okay. And if you guys notice in this assembly, there's actually a little notch here for where that ball bearing clips into when the Kickstarter is in its home position. So we'll make sure we want to insert this bottom piece with the notch facing where that ball bearing is, because that's going to be the home. So an important step for assembling both of the Allen screw and the Phillips head screw is that we'll actually apply a little bit of blue Loctite to the threads so those don't come popping out on us. Now you want to make sure that you don't screw this in too tight, because when you screw it in too tight, that ball bearing actually gets stuck against the bottom piece of the Kickstarter assembly and it won't be able to function smoothly. So make sure you go little by little here to make sure that the assembly still rotates nice and smooth. Okay, and if you can see that, I actually tightened it down a little bit too much. So I'm going to back it out a little bit. And we're back to operating nice and smooth. Nice and snug. You don't want it too tight. You'll know when it's done. All right. And that is how you guys re-grease and clean the Kickstarter assembly. Okay, so taking a look at this frame, it's actually really not in that bad condition. It's a little dirty right here, back by the back side of it, but I'm gonna throw it in the parts washer, get it cleaned up the best I can. It's midwinter here in Utah, so can't break out the hose. It's a little chilly outside, so I'm gonna do what I can with this parts washer. All right, and then after this bad boy is done in the parts washer, due to my limitations here in my garage, I'm gonna send her out for some powder coating. All right guys, that is a wrap on this parts clean video for the 2007 KX250. As you can see behind me, bunch of clean parts in that parts washer. Did such a great job. We were able to grease the swing arm bearings as well as rebuild that kickstart assembly. I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page because I've got some cool stuff coming up as far as Cerakoting goes, and then I'm also gonna finally dive into that motor. We'll see you guys next time.